I have a weakness for old machinery, particularly stuff that's free. So I picked up a bunch of tools at a house that was being sold. People I know were cleaning up all the stuff, and things needed to go or they're going in the dumpster. So I got a bunch of good tools, and I also got this beauty. I'm doing a video on it now because I'm probably going to sell it because I don't really need another sewing machine. There is my other free sewing machine. So this is the new one. I actually like that machine better. They're pretty comparable. That's a straight stitch, nothing fancy machine. So is this one. The cabinet's much better for this one, so I think that will help its marketability, if there is any marketability. But that one's a Singer Type 15 clone, so there's more accessible stuff with it. And I have more attachments for it. This one came with a whole box of goodies and feet and different attachments and a ruffler foot. So, but the ruffler feet are pretty inexpensive. It's the only fancy attachment. The other ones are hemming feet and stuff. So not really anything I'm that interested in. But it's neat that it has the attachments. Comes with the original manual. Kenmore Rotary Deluxe, based on a white rotary sewing machine. I did get extra bobbins. Figure that me or the next person who buys it, these are a little harder to find than the Singer Type 15 bobbins, which are kind of ubiquitous. So not that they're that difficult to get, but you need to, figure out what type they are. I think there's type 744 bobbins. But anyways, I got those online. So here's the machine. Things I've done to it: I put a new bobbin winder wheel. The old one was all dried out, and a new drive wheel. The drive wheel I got is kind of crappy. So here's the old wheel. The rubber's still in okay shape, but from sitting, it's got some flat spots on it. So when you run it, it goes brrrr and makes a really annoying thing. And the rubber's a little bit dried out. The new wheel I got is a lot harder of a rubber and doesn't seem to grip that well on the back here, because the rubber wheel just runs on here and pushes it around. So that's not great. But it's the only one I could find, so that's what I've got. So let's get a little closer look at the mechanism of this guy. The thing that sets this machine apart from Singer's is that the bobbin hook down on this end, which takes the thread from the needle and loops it around the bobbin and brings it up. On the Singer, it just oscillates back and forth. That's the most common mechanism. But White had a rotary system, or developed a rotary system, and Kenmore copied it, or this was probably made by White and sold with a Kenmore name on it. Now, here's the shaft coming down from the top, and the shaft is driven by the main shaft, which runs across the top of the machine, and there's just a crank on that shaft. Now, if you have a crank on the shaft and a single rod, you shouldn't be able to get rotary motion. It should be able to go either direction when you're at top dead center. When you push down, it could kick either direction. You'd have no torque, and also you could either go backwards or forwards at that instant. So you could have 3 connecting rods that would do it. I've seen old engines with a valve train that runs on 3 connecting rods that walk around. But this doesn't have that. It has this, and you notice that turning it, and this is making a complete circle all the way around. And it does it by having up in here, I don't know if you guys can see that, there's a slot in this bar, and there's another piece that it rides on. So when we're at the top, that's the top of the stroke, rather than the rod simply pushing straight down, it actually, because it's in that slot, it pushes over to the side. So that rotates it around. Then now when it's down here, it's pushing down on that slot, and then it's straight through and down. Now, it's not a consistent RPM that this spins at. It doesn't match up with the motor. It'll go. It's not a smooth rotation. Oh, if I get this to go. So it sort of pulses even though I'm going at the same speed. But still, it's a complete circle rather than an oscillation back and forth. So that makes these machines supposedly better at high speed because you don't have a stopping and starting mass. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. So let's look over here. Oh yeah, so we also have another rod coming down running on a cam, and that rod is doing our forward and back for our stitches. So if I change my stitch length, that rod will move further, and if I bring it to 0, that rod doesn't move at all. So this rod controls the stitch length. Moving over here, we have this rod, connecting rod on a cam. That moves the feed dogs back and forth. Where here we have the rotary hook for the bobbin, and that's just going in a complete circle around and around and around. So just notice there's a little wobble there. I don't know if something is bent or if it wobbled that way from the factory. Yeah. Well, let's get a little thread in this and I'll show you how it works. So, strung properly this time, or threaded properly, so now the needle comes down. It's hard to see in this one because it's right behind that little point there, but it comes down and the bobbin hook is coming around. It's hooked the thread. It is looping it around the bobbin. It hooked the other thread, so down. Hooks the thread. Now I'm holding the thread up on top. Kind of have to do that because otherwise the end gets pulled through. So now it's making the loop. I've got the top held, and now it's grabbed the bobbin thread and pulled it up to the top. So it does that same pattern. It goes down, loops around. But like I said, this bobbin hook is continually rotating. It's not oscillating back and forth. So makes this machine nicer in some ways. You hear the grumbling of that tire. The belt-driven machines are smoother than that rubber tire. Bobbin thread, let's get that, now that that's wound correctly. Let's do another run down here. Oh yeah. So now a view from the top, we'll pull up the bobbin thread first. So rotate around. It's looping around the bobbin now. Its take-up arm is pulling up. Pulls out the slack and pulls up our bobbin thread. So you can see we've got both threads up on top, the black one and the white one, working in together, harmony, blah blah blah. So here, let's see. But anyways, stitch is pretty nice. But like I said, I don't really need another sewing machine. I've got would be number 3, and there's only one of me. So anyways, I jokingly told my wife that I got this for her because she had asked about learning how to use the sewing machine. She was not impressed by the idea that I had gotten her a free sewing machine when we have 2 other ones that work perfectly fine that we don't really have a use for either. There's neither of us sew a whole lot, but I'll wind a bobbin with the white thread to show you guys how that works. It's spiked in the back, or what do you call it, stakey thing, bobbin tensiony thing, and then this bobbin, annoyingly, this bobbin does not have a hole in it in the edge. It must be a cheaper one. The other, the originals do. They have holes in them, but this one doesn't. So let's see which way is it going to spin. That's going to spin that. So once the bobbin is full, it clicks off and stops winding. So trim that off. Now I've got a bobbin of white thread.
I hope you liked this video. If you did, I'd hope you'd consider subscribing. I've got a virtually endless supply of projects I could make videos about. If there's something I can do better, or if there's a type of video you'd like to see more of, leave a comment down below,